Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Breaking ROX podcast. Episode 15, I believe, we just clarified.
Yep.
We've got a couple of the lads from Prime Creative here with us. Thanks for joining us, boys. Very appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Why don't we get stuck into a couple of... Why don't you both introduce yourselves, and then we can kind of move into some of the topics we want to discuss today.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll kick it off. So my name's Jonathan Duckett. The job title Resources Group Sales Leader. Been with the company with Prime Creative for over 11 years. I'm working in the Australian mining sector the whole time.
My name is James Phipps. I am the product manager for Australian Mining, the brand itself. Similar to Jonathan, probably been with Prime about 5 or 6 years now. And yeah, just really kind of getting stuck into the industry. First full year in the role and shadowing him, supporting Jonathan in the resources group.
Very good, very good. So obviously you've both been sort of working in the mining sector for a while now. If we can cut to sort of both of you and get both of your opinion on this, what do you enjoy most about the resources or the mining sector?
Obviously guessing by the accent, you can tell an English boy originally, so moved over here and 11 years ago when I dived into the industry in terms of media. What I've loved the most is just like the constant drive you guys have, or the industry has, as for innovation, technology, constantly evolving, looking at how things are doing smarter, more effective. But then also the thing I've learned more and more is just what a massive role mining plays in the world in terms of that next level of technology that the consumer is driving, and just the role that plays in terms of the minerals and the process and what's extracted from the ground is actually supply and demand. Basically, it sort of feeds into that space. Yeah, that's massive interest for me as you move forward as well, and just the role that it's going to continue to play, I guess, in that space as well.
The longer you stay in there, the longer you're in the mining industry, the more you sort of see what it's doing around the world, don't you? It powers so much of everything, which you don't really realize before you actually get stuck into the industry. And like you say, the innovation that's created in machinery and processes and everything is pretty extreme in mining.
It's everything as well. Like you sort of innovation. Like for me, if you stereotype it, it's all about the latest widget or gizmo or tech, right? But it's everything from the engineering processes, like the equipment that's actually comes out of it, the innovation, like you're saying, driving costs down in order to continue profitability. Like from a processing point of view, it's right across the board. Yep. And it's like you say, until you get into the industry and just see some of it and how even when you attend all these seminars and conferences, if you like, you sort of see they're always trying to think one step ahead, of how you continue to evolve. It's never, rest on your laurels, so to speak. So, yeah, that's a major draw card for me, I must admit.
I think for me, it's that being quite new to the industry itself and kind of only been working on the media side for it for a year or so. One, it's the people. I think everyone kind of really supports each other within the industry itself, but also I think the contribution, not just the economic level, but the community as well. So all the good work they do for, various charities and, the likes of that. I think it's just, you kind of look at it from the outside and you might think, it's this big bad kind of, mining industry. These guys are just wrecking the earth and stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff that really goes on behind the scenes as well. So
yeah,
that's a great point.
Yeah, a lot of the big mining, the tier one guys do have a lot of initiatives where they're giving back to the local communities, the traditional owners as well, all that stuff that's kind of evolved a lot, which is really, really great to see. And I think, like touching on your point, or both your points around innovation and things like that, I think a lot of what is exciting, even a company like us, we've kind of have cut our teeth in the mining industry and the resource industry, but then we're able to kind of transfer some of those learnings and some of those innovations and some of that capability across into other industries as well. And I think mining and the resource sector is a great little sort of grassroots almost for a lot of like we've said, innovation, new technology, driving growth and things like that, and seeing that be able to transfer over across into the broader society, I think is really cool. So yeah,
I'd agree. And like you look at, you say community as well, and one thing that stands out for me, like you guys have both been to the QME conference, right? And you get the guys walking through and they're bringing the kids along and their wives, because it's bigger. The the person may work in the industry, but it impacts the whole family, impacts the whole region, where the projects are, where the work's done. So you actually see what a big part their job plays in their whole lifestyle and where they live and, the day-to-day, being, if you like. So yeah, it's like you see the excitement of the kids and the dad can't wait to show the son. And then the amount of people that I think follow their parents into the industry as well, because, they've been around it their whole lives. It's bigger than just a job, if you like. I think it's...
Yeah, it is an exciting industry. I think, like, obviously I've been with Bentech for pretty much 7 years now. And I think some of the stuff that I've been able to see, be involved in, see at trade shows and things like that, a lot of it's really exciting. It's huge, like it's big machinery moving thousands of tons of material out of the earth.
Doing like unimaginable things.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like you can't do it with your hands, it's like...
It's insane. Even when you think of like iron ore and how we transport it globally, the fact that it's done by truck, then train, then boat, like just the comprehension of how much, I say dirt, but how much ore is moved is insane. And it's just insane.
Taking it further as well, like the automation of all of this as well, these machines. Like seeing big 793F just going cruising along on the highway on its own, or someone just sitting behind and on the remote control. It's incredible that side of the innovation in mining.
Yeah. The opportunity I think that it provides as well for like all the stakeholders that are involved to be able to contribute, establish themselves, develop something new. It's just, there's that, in essence, the opportunity it provides as a whole as an industry is pretty insane.
Yeah.
With how many contributors there are.
100%. It's a big, big industry. Yeah, it's exciting. I love working as part of a company that services the mining industry. I think it's really cool. It's taken me to some cool places around the world, and being able to see the innovations that we can provide, even just like on a micro level, innovations that we've been able to create over the last few years has been awesome.
Yep.
And the movement into fuel tanks and all that stuff is really cool. It's really cool to see.
Even working with you guys, pretty much I've worked with you guys over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
You look at how far the company's come. As we were just talking about, from the previous premises to where you are now, and the various product ranges that you've got has all come from evolving with what the industry is asking of you.
Yep.
And then, you break off into these little new equipment, new brands, new solutions, and it evolves with the industry. And as you said, into other industries now as well for you guys. So you look at the growth journey you guys have been on in particular, I think that represents what the opportunity that the industry presents.
Yep, 100%. I think that kind of segues nicely into one of the next points I wanted to touch on, was the growth of you guys. I mean, we've grown a lot, but you guys have grown a lot too, haven't you, over the last even that I've seen working with you the last 5, 6, 7 years. Tell us a little bit about what you guys cover from a mining and resources perspective, like the publications you've got and your portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. I'm probably best to speak to this one. Been around the block as long as I have.
So part of the
bit of a war vet. Yeah. So, we're very fortunate. So, we obviously, the flagship title that most people know is Australian Mining Magazine. That title in itself has been around since 1908. Probably written on quill.
Really? 1908?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Years.
That's insane.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. So with that, I guess it's come. We built over the years this real credibility in terms of that title. So the Australian mining, it's really well known, not just in Australia, but even when you attend some of the global conferences, people tend to know who we are and what we do, and there's a real trust and integrity within that platform itself. And like you just said there, and how the industry evolves from listening. As Prime Creative, we listen to what our advertisers, our audience are talking about, and some of the themes initially came about was. Safety was covered in that Australian mining platform, but was it necessarily getting as much, views and cut through as say, the operational and the project stuff in Australian mining? So that evolved us into them producing Australian Mining Safe to Work, and, to give safety a platform within our portfolio. And then from there, using the credibility of Australian mining, we've just evolved into different regions, listening to what, I guess, our partners are looking to achieve in terms of, growing their organizations and industries and being more targeted with their message. So that evolved us into, as you mentioned about places I never thought I'd go, like P&G Mining, we've just launched now as well. So went over there a couple of times in the last 12, 18 months as well, due to really trying to shine a spotlight on the work being done in that region.
Yep.
Australian Resources and Investments, another platform we've got, obviously focusing much more on, the investment side of the industry and that junior and mid-tier mining company. Another random place took me to was Kalgoorlie, which I never would have been.
Cal.
Goes on in Cal, stays in Cal.
Yeah.
And even from there, of late, we've acquired another mining. It's called the Mine Magazine now as well. So that's come across the portfolio, as well as, we've got Quarry, Bulk Handling, Energy Today. So really catering right across the spectrum now for the resources division. And within each of those, we really pride ourselves on industry-based journalists that are, working with our advertisers, I guess, to communicate key messages to market, but also really maintaining being immersed in our industry. We don't want to be ever seen as just like another publication. It's like, how do we connect with industry, like association partners, things like that, really giving that credibility and value to the market as well, and keeping the integrity of the content and what we talk about in that space as well. So it's been a real growth. Talk about growth journeys, like Prime Creative as a whole has grown considerably. And
don't forget the events, Johnny.
Yeah, sorry. So just a recent acquisition as well with like QME and Amex and WA Mining Conference, which is obviously why we're over here as well.
Yep.
Give that a plug in the podcast for the week.
Check it out.
Events team would be coming down your neck if you didn't say anything about that.
But yeah, like, so you look at that, it's like there's so many touch points now within print, digital, events, like face-to-face engagement, and again, just sort of growing with what the industry's been saying to us as well.
Yeah, I think that's what, I guess, speaking to the credibility of Prime Creative and things like that, that's where we've obviously been advertising with you guys and partnering with you guys for a number of years now, and you're pretty much the only publication that I do partner with. I think you guys cover a really good spectrum. You've got great credibility, and there's multiple touch points across events, across print, across digital. All those things mesh really well together. And I think like the most sort of success that we've had through partnering with you guys has been, the most success I've had partnering with mass media agencies with you guys for sure. And like, I think like, the way you guys go about it, I really like the way you guys go about it. And you've got a great team, and you're obviously both great to work with as well. Yeah. So it's been cool to see you guys evolve and acquire new things. And there's a lot of options for us from a customer to being a customer of you guys. There's a lot of options for us in terms of what we can do, how we can promote our brands, how we can connect with industry. So I think that's been really cool to see you guys evolve.
And you touched upon probably one of the key things that we try and keep as an organization. Partnering was the word you used throughout.
Yeah,
like it's at the end of the day, you can look at it as like advertising space, but what we try and do more than anything is understand your strategies and sit down and work with you, like in order to work more strategic and almost become like an extension of your marketing team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like actually listening to what you're trying to achieve and then relaying that back in the proposals and plans. I think, gone are the glory days, if you like, of many years ago where you would book, your 12 months and people just walk away. You look at marketing as a general now, it's like, it is a cost center for you guys as an organization. So we have to be smarter and more effective in how we partner and continue to work with you in order to maintain that relationship.
And we've just done that as well. I mean, with the last half, just before this, we had a really good catch up about some of the stuff that we may have been sort of struggling with, and we came up with a really good strategy. Mainly backed by what you guys had to say that weekend.
I think that was good.
But it's good because that got us thinking and got us excited about getting more content out through you guys in a more strategic sort of manner. So I think that was it. That just as you say, working as a partnership is very clear with what you guys do.
It's one of the big trends we're seeing across the board now. Like you sort of monthly, 6 weekly, quarterly account management meetings, whatever you want to be, right? All your businesses are looking at return on investment and brand exposure and so on. And we have to work with you and be strategic at the same time because, like I say, sort of having a plan and that's it for the year is not always the best bet. Like what content is key right now? How can we position you with what you've got going on right now? Engaging with our editors, not just the sales team, like it's right across the portfolio in order to sort of, really justify that investment. I think that's the big trend you sort of see in marketing as a whole at the minute.
I think that we get to play that kind of key role as well, where it's that commercial, but meets community in a way, and we're kind of that voice that bridges the gap for you guys. And be able to, I guess, get the exposure that you need to get in contact with the right people.
100%.
And, I think it's, really important that you do work at that partnership level Johnny said, it's not a transaction.
Yeah.
It's the furthest thing from it, and so we really try to pride ourselves on, I guess. From a
Definitely.
perspective.
I think you guys do that really well, and I think like what and further to both your points is I think the insights that you're able to give us in terms of what's working, and maybe what other companies have had success with, what's happening in the market, what's the latest trends, things like that. That feeds back into our marketing strategies and things like that. That again, that really just reaffirms that whole partnership mentality that I think is really important. I think that's been really successful so far for us with you guys. So I think it's really good. It's really good, and I think you guys do what you do really well, and I think that's why we'll continue to partner with you guys. As we just said, we just had a great conversation around plans for next year.
Sweet, we got that on record.
Must be noted.
That is being recorded as we speak.
Has to be noted though. Obviously we're kind of at the forefront of it, but we're really backed by a whole team of industry professional journalists that essentially make the magic happen, or are the people behind all that quality content that goes to market. So definitely got to shout those guys out as well, because without them, we're just selling advertising space and
100%.
tying it all together.
We're the same too. Like we've got our team that backs us up. Obviously, we're sitting here talking about it, seemingly taking the credit for a lot of the things that we do. But we've got a great team. Like our graphic design team's fantastic. Obviously, we've got Bruce behind the camera who helps edit and chop these things into something that's palatable for the viewer. So I think I think it's important that we probably touch on that as well. Like we're backed by a great team, and we've got a great team of engineers, drafts people, admin team, sales team. We're all kind of, I think you all got to work well together to make the dream work, and I think that's really important to shout out, I feel.
Massively. It's what keeps us relevant. If at the end of the day, like you guys use us for our audience and engagement and quality content and positioning you guys in the right way and talking to the key players in the industry is ultimately what keeps our audience growing. And you talk about, mass media. Without the mass, where do we come into it? So you sort of need that relevance and content in order to keep the audience continually growing. And that's something we work on a lot internally, like, in terms of putting you guys in front of key decision makers in the industry. It's like, we have to make sure, and our editors work really closely with association bodies and the market as a whole to constantly be reviewing who those key decision makers are and ensuring they're in our audience, because at the end of the day, it's the audience and that engagement that you guys need. And you'll probably know that more than anything, doing things such as the podcasts and, even your own content that you guys are really strong at putting out to market. It's got to have that relevance and engagement in order to continue growing. So yeah, definitely. It's a big shout out to the team.
Absolutely. Yep. Again, that probably segues nicely into another point that I had is we sort of touched on trends and things like that and insights. What are some of the trends you've seen over the last 12 months in the mining space, in the resource space? I guess maybe if we could even scope it down a little bit more in terms of like what people are, what type of content is working, what type of, I guess, the evolution of content and things like that. What are you guys sort of seeing in that area?
For me, sorry, I'll jump in again, mate. It's the industry's getting smarter in terms of marketing, definitely now. I think, there's a mix of probably that younger generation marketing manager coming in more and more as well. Nothing against sort of, the old school chain of thought as well, because it still works. But, I think you touched on one area there, content, right? Content is key for all businesses. And I think nowadays people are getting way more smarter in terms of how they use that content and engagement with the market. I think more and more people get educated and can see through a sales piece. And that's where, you talk about our industry journalists being able to spin, an interview with whoever, whatever company, and turning that into industry content and how it overcomes issues within the industry and really, again, keeps the integrity for our publication, but also positions you as like subject matters or thought leaders. And, again, going back to the point we said at the start about innovation and technology, we want to position that in the right way of where the industry's going, but also position you guys in the same light as well. And I think that's the trend I'm seeing more and more. It's, you talk about, again, going back to those account management meetings and partnering, people are thinking, a lot more strategic in terms of like what message is key, like what are the issues in the industry, how do they fall into that space? They're not just necessarily seeing them as like, we produce this product and we want to tell everyone the best. We're like, what role do we play in industry? Talking about, being like an employer of choice, like setting the scenes of culture behind the scenes and things like that as well. It's bigger than just a brand as well. It's the branding's obviously key, but I think like part of branding now is that sort of how you perceive the market, which is content. And that's probably one of the big ones I've seen is people working like more like smarter, I guess.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's like we've had to kind of, we often think a lot about that as well, as like being strategic and being smart and understanding where content fits and all, and that was kind of the birth of a video series Behind the Bee, was kind of like building that understanding of like what goes on behind the scenes here at Bentech, understanding the culture here, give people a more of a holistic view of what the brand is and what the brand represents. And then I think that kind of, it just resonates with people a lot more, rather than putting out, like you said, like, here's our product, please buy it, we're the best. It's more about like developing the understanding of Bentech, ROX, Grizzly, BT Metals, whichever division you're dealing with, and building the story around what we are about holistically. And I think that, like I said, I think that kind of resonates really nicely with people, and it gives it's a much more of a softer approach in terms of, rather than jamming product, please buy me down people's throat. It just doesn't work anymore. People don't want to see
There's so much content out there these days, so it's, you know, you've got to
be doing something different.
You've got to be doing something different, or at least speaking very, as you sort of touched on, speaking directly to your audience, and being strategic that way, and you know, creating something that's engaging and has a personality behind it.
Yeah.
I think that's what's been very important with a lot of the stuff we've tried to do. And
100%.
Businesses, I think, want to be a lot more transparent on who they are now.
Yep.
It's not like, this is our product and this is the name behind it. It's more about, this is our product, these are the people creating it and contributing and putting a face to a name, because that, I think the whole user experience wants to get a more personal connection now. It's not just like all about you're buying off this person, this account manager and this product, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or like bringing the whole kind of company into it, and
who are you, and like, what are you about?
In a sense.
Yeah, totally.
Creating the narrative around that.
Yeah.
Building trust.
Building trust, exactly. I think transparency is a really great word around it. That's what we've that was the whole idea about. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out now. We enjoy doing these podcasts, but I think that was the idea behind the podcast and behind the B and things like that, is being transparent, lifting the curtain a little bit around who the business is, and showing people what we're about, how we interact together as well. When you can see people that are obviously working in harmony and working well together across departments and things like that. Like we're a pretty decent sized business now, over 100 people. So being able to lift the curtain a little bit on that and get some people from out the back involved and things like that from the manufacturing team and things has been really, I think it resonates really well, and the feedback we've had has been pretty strong from that. I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess and you talk about trends as well, and like one of the big things we're still seeing is like the strength of the print publications. We talked at the start about, you know, Australian Mining being this flagship, and how from one publication we've evolved into like probably 10 or 11 across the board now. And just the role that print is still playing. You know, as we all know, we're on screens all day, every day, in terms of, you know, emails and newsletters and engagement there, which is all obviously still plays a huge part in terms of, you know, ROI and tracing within marketing and so on. But you look at print and the tangibility and stepping away from the screen, and we go back to building that trust that you just mentioned, and leaning on our editors and like, you know, us actually positioning you as the experts or subject matters. Like in the B2B marketing space within the industrial sectors anyway, we're still seeing such, like, the growth of print is still there. And I think that is going back to that mix of, you know, the two generations of marketing managers as well, approach, and also the industries, you know, with the difference of generations and who engages in different ways. But, you know, you look at the journey our publications are still going in terms of print. I think it's based on the trust and being recognised in industry with those flagship titles. So, yeah, in the industrial space, I still think it plays a huge role, as well as obviously the supporting in terms of digital as well.
I think a lot of the content that you see as well on Australian Mining and Safe to Work, like it's very real, and like it's coming. I mean, it's coming. Obviously, it is coming from companies and their own words about what they're doing, but it's real, like news and real what those businesses are doing. It's what the industry is doing. It's not like, you know, you see so much fake sort of stuff out there on news, like clickbait and all that, and it just seems that there's like a real, like, you know, honor about like with where the content, how it's displayed from you guys,
in line with the tone of the industry and like kind of what's happening, kind of like a barometer of what's happening, you know. More keeping a mark on how things are developing and you know what's coming up and what you're saying.
I think the resource and mining industry, given the demographic, I think like it's sort of it's kind of it doesn't really kind of lend itself to the clickbait sort of stuff.
No, that's right.
And like I think like people get from a marketing point of view, you quickly cross into frustration and friction if you're not careful, if you're not providing relevance, if you're not providing something that is of value, you kind of get chewed up and spat out a little bit, and you miss the mark, you know.
You can also, you've got to be careful as well, because there are opportunities you can go down as a publisher or, you know, platform where you can report all the negative things that happen in industry, of course.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether you like it or not, sadly, they get clicks and engagement and so on. But, you know, as an industry publication, you're supposed to be immersed in the industry and trying to assist in growing the industry and moving things forward. So if you're reporting about accidents and stuff like this, and in order to get clicks, then the integrity of your publication is not really aligned with what the narrative of the industry
is. It's broader message. Yeah,
fair point. Yeah,
sort of that they're designed to be immersed in industry and report, you know, the great work it's doing. And, you know, I guess we were talking about mining before, you know, sometimes from an outside looking in, seen as a dirty word at times, but, you know, publications such as us, I think, play a part in terms of changing that narrative and talking about like sustainability and what's next. You know, the commitment, if you look across the board now, the amount of talk about how we make, you know, it, you know, more sustainable, it's massive. And I think that's what the publications play. So you're right. I think the clickbait stuff just doesn't serve a purpose, really.
Yeah.
It's got to keep it positive and engaged.
Yep. What do you think, I guess, to kind of, I know you guys you're busy men and we've got to kind of keep things on track, but what do you guys think of one of the last points I want to touch on? What do you think brands benefit from? We've kind of probably touched on some of this already, but what do you think brands benefit from the most in mass media that you see from your clients?
For me, it's the third party endorsement in industry. Like, you know,
yep.
You guys, like everyone's working internally to develop their own channels to market and promote themselves to their own, but it tends to be their own database. Like, I think what our publications do is give you a voice, whether if, you know, from an advertising point of view, if we're working with you behind the scenes on what the narrative is, but we give a voice to industry on a trusted platform, you know, positioning you as subject matters rather than just, as we talked about before, you go into your own databases and sort of saying how great you are, if you like. And, you know, we're pretty lucky we're endorsed by some of the big associations such as like OSMINE and OSIM. And again, you know, to sound like a pitch, but, you know, if you go into a client meeting and you reference that sort of endorsement, it builds trust. And then you guys use the trust that our publication has to get your key message to market. And then one of the key things in that as well is, use the word mass as well. And in terms of audience, and it's supporting the work that you mentioned before, your sales team are doing, your sales are doing from a marketing point of view as well, tapping into our database and us becoming an extension of the team. I think it still serves a huge purpose in that, but I think it goes back to that point of building trust and the transparency of what you're doing, but coming from a narrative outside of yourselves as well, and how you position into, you know, and us connecting you, I guess, with the key decision makers in that space. You know, like we're talking about key projects and issues and so on that are happening in the industry, and then the role that you guys play in that space, and you're sort of trying to connect the two dots really, and connect. And I think that's the medium that we provide in terms of the decision maker versus, you know, the equipment providers and suppliers and services companies. So long may it continue.
100%, 100%. What about you, James?
Look, I reckon it's probably, you know, it might sound a bit simple, but helping the brands that we work with and businesses stay top of mind, right? And being front and center and being able to be the opportunity to be the first brand they think of when they're looking at, you know, making decisions around purchasing new products or engaging to help increase their efficiency and optimization within a mine site or a mining related business. I think we're pretty lucky that we kind of get to play a small part in being part of the growth journey and, you know, essentially helping people develop their, you know, communication strategies, giving them our ideas and what we kind of knows worked well for other people we've worked with. And I think it's it's a lucky situation to be in, and a great industry to really be a part of from that perspective, particular to mining.
And what do you guys say? What do you guys do? You know, put it back on you guys in terms of like mass media and the benefits, like, you know, of working with channels such as us. Like, you know, where do you see, like, outside of just the reach? You know,
well, I think it's like, I mean, it's clear right now where we've got, we're kind of launching a couple different brands. Well, we've been in the middle of launching different brands under the flagship, under Bentech, and I think the brand awareness that that you guys provide is obviously huge to the whole wider mining industry, and that's that is definitely one key thing. That brand awareness is huge, and then it just filters down the line. We're able to keep on getting sort of like that. You're able to get a bit of a customer base that joins the sort of, joins the party, and we're able to just keep, building our content and forming them into customers and getting trust from them. And so I think that's a huge one for me.
Yeah. I think outside of the reach, I think it's the relevance and the credibility. I think that comes along with partnering with a notable probably a notable publication as yourselves. I think us pushing out our message ourselves, as with any brand, obviously you're going to say that you're good, right? But when your content and stuff is seen in third party, from a credible publication, I think it carries more weight.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing, I'm a huge advocate of like brand awareness campaigning. I think B2B brand awareness is king for sure. And it's not necessarily just about driving conversions and driving clicks and driving impressions and things like that. I think it's about expanding the reach as far as you can. And I think given that you guys have quite a diverse range of, your portfolio is quite diverse in terms of what it touches on within the resource sector, you can kind of plug into those as we see fit. Yeah. You can kind of, if some of the stuff we do is for bulk handling, for example, we can really funnel that down into that publication. Some of it's more of a wider message around safety and efficiency. Obviously that works really well with Australian mining and safe to work.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I think is where I've seen the most benefit from a mass media perspective.
Giving you more of like a tailored message to particular niche of each.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's just that further reach. Obviously, Australian mining's very well known. Safe to work's very well known. We can kind of plug into that audience and piggyback off that a little bit, rather than, we've got a decent reach ourselves, and we've got a decent following across socials and things like that, which is all really important these days, digital marketing and things like that. But I think mass media is super important for brand awareness. Yeah. That's kind of the main points I had to discuss, guys. What sort of, so you're obviously been in Perth for a couple of days now. You're
from Monday.
You're from Melbourne.
Melbourne.
What's the best part about being in Perth, do you reckon?
I've been talking to Johnny and the guys about this quite a bit recently. It's been pretty hard to fault. I'm a bit frustrated because it would, very much on the radar. Thinking the weather's nice, there's not traffic. All in all, seems like, pretty friendly people by the conversations about it today.
No, we're pretty chill over here in Perth, I reckon. Yeah.
It's warm, don't have to put a jumper on all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yeah. I was over in Melbourne not long ago for the Land Forces conference, and it was very, very different vibe. I've been to Geelong as well.
Angry
I really like
protesters.
Geelong. Yeah, angry protesters and things like that. I've been to Geelong, which I really enjoyed. I think that I did like Geelong. I feel like Geelong's
mixed reviews from Melbournians about Geelong.
Oh, really?
I liked it.
Just a massive country town out there. But look, I think it's by the water.
Hey, good surf. Yeah, it sounds like the dreamer down there.
No, Torquay's good. Torquay is very nice.
Yeah.
That's not too far from Geelong, and that's a very sought after spot.
I think that's near where I stayed when I went over there, actually.
Yeah.
I forget where I stayed, but there was a golf course there and it was close to the beach.
Well, RECB club you would have stayed at.
Yeah, okay.
There's a pretty nice golf course down there.
Yeah.
There's a man that knows a golf course. It'll be you, mate.
I know about golf and I do about media. So.
We had more time here. We could
golf into that. We're big fans of golf as well.
Okay.
We both get out and play a fair bit of golf together.
You guys members anywhere?
No, I used to be back in the day. Like when I was in high school, I was a member at a club called Melville Glades.
Okay.
And I played pennants and stuff for them as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was a pretty avid golfer in high school. But obviously that's a fair while ago now.
Yeah.
I can still hack around and put up a decent score every now and then though.
I've played I think it's like Lake Carrignop.
Oh yeah,
down
great
there.
course.
So I'm pretty.
Let's get on there.
So my club I'm a member of has reciprocal rights, and I went there and I was blown away. It was probably one of the nicest courses I've ever played.
Yeah, it's a beautiful course, that one. It's kept in such good nick too.
Yeah.
Tough as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the piece you're done.
We played is it the Joondalup Resort?
Yeah, that's really good too. That's down near my way. Yeah.
That'll be your way.
Yeah.
We used to stay there a little bit back in the day when we come over for work trips.
Oh, what a place. Yeah.
It's pretty lucky to get out before work.
Yeah.
Before work, I might add, just in case.
Very good. Well, we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for coming out and visiting us.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure.
We've been able to reaffirm some strategy for next year, and I think touch on some good points that'll have some value for some people. Obviously, as we just said, we talked about value and transparency and relevance and all those kind of things. I think what we've touched on today is important, and I think hopefully promotes both the brands together moving forward. But yeah, as I said, thanks again, James. Thanks again, Jono. We appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, guys, signing off, episode 15. Thank you.